of what was done in the first part of this project, which was called the wayfinding study. It was a 3-phased process. Can everybody hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So in this first phase, so as I think you're aware of, there are 4 CRAs that are funding this project. And there is a certain money set aside for each of the 4 CRAs. So in the first phase, it was more of an analysis of the current program and in this Tampa Heights area, I don't think there are any existing wayfinding signs that were part of what the partnership worked on back in 2008, I think it was. So we went around, did an inventory of all the existing signs. We did analysis of the vehicular and pedestrian and parking signs, as well as bike paths and riverwalk signage. We studied the circulation patterns. And one of the things that came up with Tampa that was unique. So in most cities, you would direct to the destination, and then once vehicular traffic got to the destination, they would then find parking. Parking is typically on site. What's different about downtown Tampa is that there are 5 core public parking garages that you can access pretty much all the destinations you're going to via those parking garages. And there was an overarching goal to get people out of their car and either by foot or bicycle or other modality to the destination. So our navigation strategy changed to directing to downtown, and then a district or neighborhood, and then directing to the parking garage, and then from there directing to the various destinations. Tampa Heights is an outlier in that, to our knowledge, there are no city-owned public parking lots, and that's what we are directing to, is city-owned public parking garages or parking lots. So in phase 2, this was looking into the programming. We had a lot of coordination meetings internally with the ADA team, with mobility, the Riverwalk, the Tampa Downtown Partnership, who's a partner in this program, THEA, and a bunch of others. We developed various navigational strategies, both for vehicular as well as pedestrian. And with the pedestrian, we focused on the 5 primary public parking garages that we would direct people from. We also drafted a destination criteria, as well as a draft of the destinations that would be included on the signs. And I have an updated version for the work that we're doing now. And then in phase 3, we started to dig a little deeper and start to develop some prototypical messaging for key vehicular directional signs. We continue to have more coordination meetings. We developed a sound location plan. We also got some ballpark budget pricing from a fabricator that's done a lot of urban wayfinding projects, just so we had a sense of what we might be able to afford. That's changed in the 2 years since, due to inflation and tariffs and whatnot. And then we developed initially 5 concepts for the signage design, and then 3 of them were shown to each of the 4 CACs, as well as to the mayor, and then presented to the CRA board. And the version that you see here was the version that was approved. While we were also working on this project, we were doing a separate project with the Tampa Downtown Partnership to develop the neighborhood branding for 6 of the 7 neighborhoods that make up the Special Services District. And so we had stakeholder meetings with each of the neighborhoods, and through that we knew that we wanted the identification of the neighborhoods or just to be a part of the wayfinding signs. And so the way we developed this was to have like an icon and pattern that would be associated with each of the neighborhoods that we then could incorporate it into the wayfinding signs. And then there would be different colors associated with the various neighborhoods as well. And so, and I believe the partnership presented that to you a while back. So this is now, we've moved into, fast forward almost 2 years to when we started, got re-engaged into this project to work on the design development, the documentation, bid coordination, and construction administration. We're currently in design development, and we're pretty far along in that. We are, with your neighborhood, we're only a month apart between our introductory meeting and then our final meeting in November. But it is a smaller neighborhood, and we've been working ahead to have more information for you to share tonight. In this phase, we've refined the concepts, which I'll show you in a second. We've been coordinating with various stakeholders, with the partnership, mobility, ADA, and as I mentioned, we're having these kickoff meetings. We've had conversations with local authorities, and we've been field verifying conditions in all of the CACs, and as well as updating the sound location plans and developing messages. And then at the end of this phase, we will present in person to each of the 4 CACs, get input and approval, and then we'll present to the CRA board. Then once that's done, and actually part of what we'll be doing in documentation, we are about to begin now. Documentation is developing the detailed sign drawings. It's getting, so we would ultimately have a bid ready document that would be out for, we're ready to be bid to sign fabricators. We have a consultant on board that is a civil engineer that's going to help with physically locating each of the signs and preparing the permit necessary drawings for those signs. So that work we are going to be starting probably in the next couple of weeks, just to try to get ahead of the game. And then we'll be getting, I'm currently in the process of getting revised ballpark pricing for the signage, now that we also have some concepts in place. Next phase would be the bid coordination, and then there's the 4th phase of construction administration. So we have developed now the signage concepts. It's the same signage concept for each of the neighborhoods, but each neighborhood has the branding that's associated with it. And we'll zoom in here. And so on the left is what we call a district identity sign. And so this would be kind of at the corners of your CRA, and they would identify, announcing to people that you've arrived in Tampa Heights, Riverfront neighborhood. And we're using the tagline dining, shops, and art in all of the various CRAs. We have vehicular directional signs that require 4-inch cap height for the messaging. We can have up to 4 destinations per sign and no more than 2 lines per destination. So this represents an actual one of the sign locations that we are proposing in the messages that we have on here. And then on the back of the sign, because a lot of these will be visible not only to vehicular traffic, but also to pedestrians as they walk through the neighborhood. So we're incorporating the patterning and reinforcing again the Tampa Heights Riverfront neighborhood. And then we have pedestrian directional signs that we're doing more of a monolithic type sign that's closer to pedestrians as you walk through the neighborhood. And again, this represents one of the locations that we're showing. These would be double-sided signs. And then just to give you a feel for the other neighborhoods. So the downtown core. The River Arts District. So and you'll see in most of the other, or at least a few of the neighborhoods, we have parking identification signs. Water Street. And then Central Park. And Channel District. And Channel District is the final one that we've not had our introductory meeting with yet. That happens in 2 weeks. So these are the destination names that we developed. What you see in black represents destinations that are currently on the wayfinding program that's out there now. What's in blue are either name changes like Benchmark International Arena or new destinations that aren't currently on the signs. And then the orange outlines represent signs or destinations that would most likely just be on pedestrian directionals. And then we have a few, none of these apply here, but we have a few instances where, because we are so limited with characters in the destination's name, so we might abbreviate it to say Strata Center for the vehicular directional, but maybe have Strata Center for the performing arts for the pedestrian directional signs. And then these represent the destination names for Tampa Heights. And the question I'm going to ask in a few minutes relates to this historic Franklin Street. So I guess I'll pause here. Are there any destinations that you think are missing from this list? Take that as a no.
Anyone see anything missing?
Well, you saying like specific to Tampa Heights, is there anything here?
I feel like should be highlighted. Like the other groups mentioned libraries, historically significant churches, you know, anything that is a significant landmark.
Besides,
Yeah.
I mean,
Churches generally are not included unless it is a major tourist draw. We have not included churches in any of the other CRAs.
St. Peter Claver is on
Yeah,
here.
that's the St. Peter Claver one, and that's
And I-
Central Park, I think that they recommended because of its historical significance and the school associated with it.
It's
I don't know about the
it's a
tourist.
school, right? It's a school part, not the church.
But it's within the boundary, right, of the,
Central Park, or you're saying within Tampa Heights?
within the Tampa Heights.
Yeah, just within
Riverfront
that.
boundary. So, I mean, Armature Works or the Heights Public Market, I mean, seems like a big one. Armature Works is the actual historic building that it resides in. Maybe something like even historic 7th Avenue, because 7th Avenue carries all the way to the waterfront there. And 7th Avenue is significant because it's actually one of the major east-west connectors that actually connects several CRAs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for wayfinding and directionality, having certain streets like that, like if we're calling out Franklin, it would make sense that we might want to do historic 7th Avenue as well.
Okay.
Did you have a specific question related to Franklin?
Yes, so, in talking with, the partnership and becoming aware of all of the new businesses that will be, popping up, especially in the Yellow Brick Road area, they felt that Franklin Street or historic Franklin Street should be a destination redirect to from Tampa Heights. And so, I do have a couple, just two examples of, this is the sign that's heading southbound on Tampa Street at East Palm Avenue. So it's there at Sprouts. So directing to the right for Armature Works and Dining and Shops. And straight ahead for Waterworks Park in downtown. If we were to add Franklin Street, we probably can't do historic Franklin Street on vehicular directional signs. We can on pedestrian. So if we did that, I would remove the downtown destination since we are limited to only 4 destinations. And I would add in Franklin Street. And then this one also removed the dining and shops that was associated with turning right. So if so that sign is this one here as you're heading southbound on Tampa. So if you suggested directing to historic 7th Avenue, are you thinking from a vehicular standpoint or pedestrian?
I think probably that one would be more likely from a pedestrian avenue. It's definitely an important corridor, where we have a number of other residents popping up as well as businesses, and it leads directly into Ybor. So
Okay. Yeah, we definitely have room on the pedestrian signs to add it. So we're currently showing, let's back up. So
What about the YMCA? You have that on here?
He doesn't have that on.
What's that?
The YMCA?
Yes, I do show it on here in directing to it. I don't have it on the list of Tampa Heights destinations because I don't think it officially falls in your CRA, but Franklin Street doesn't either, and I have it on the list. I can certainly add it to that list. But we are directing to it.
Okay.
So these 4 orange signs, these are the district identity signs welcoming you to Tampa Heights. So I have them in the northwest, the southwest, the northeast. I think this one in the park could be on a diagonal and capture traffic from both Palm Avenue and Tampa. And then we have one coming kind of northeast from Doyle Carlton.
do any of the signs direct anybody to like the Green Artery connection and the trail. It's not necessarily within the boundary, but it connects to everything that we're looking at.
I'm not familiar with the trail.
Sunland Greenway? Which one?
So the green artery, so the
The green
Sunland
artery.
Greenway is part of it, but it's gonna be the trail that's like connects 22 different neighborhoods throughout the city, so it goes all the way around, so. It falls on the other side of Tampa Heights, but a number of these places go to it. The Riverwalk becomes part of it, so I was just curious. I'm always looking for ways that we can take all the other things that are happening in the city and start
Yep.
connecting them all.
Yeah, that, I'm not familiar with that trail and that hasn't come up in any of our discussions.
So Green Artery, it's on the city's website. They just did a big announcement for it. A couple weeks ago. For one of the segments.
Okay. I'll need to learn more about that then. We are including the Riverwalk on both vehicular and pedestrian directionals. And back to the comment about Armature Works and the name. I think, you know, we're using the name Armature Works because that is how most people refer to that building and where they're going.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we want this to be user friendly.
So going back to the Franklin Street inclusion, is this where you're wanting our input to say yes or no if we want option 1 or option 2?
Yes, you know, for instance, on this sign here, as you're heading down Tampa Street and Sprouts is right here, which is more important to be directing to dining and shops to the right in downtown straight ahead, or to be directing to Franklin Street to the left?
I think it's tough, just like right now, like
what I was gonna say.
Franklin Street's not as important, but like with the development that's gonna be happening there, it will become more of a destination.
Yeah.
And honestly, Armature Works is the dining and shops.
Right.
So,
Except for outside of like under Pearl, where they're gonna,
well, I guess that's true in Lately.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, and these signs are probably 18 months away from being installed. So I think by the time that they are installed, several of the businesses on Franklin Street will be open.
Yeah, and when the hall was functioning at the end of Yellow Brick Road, it was really, they had a lot of activity at that time.
well, that's the area that's getting revitalized, so. I think it does make sense to highlight it in anticipation of that.
Yeah, I would maybe say Franklin Street over dining and shops, which is more generic, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, generally, so for all the other CRAs, we're keeping the dining shops for the most part just for pedestrian directional signs or at the parking identity sign, where we're listing the destinations you can access from that parking garage. So this it's kind of an anomaly if we were to list it here on vehicular signs. I just, you know, with there being fewer destinations and, you know, there are a lot of dining shops. I thought it might be something we want to consider, but it's definitely on the pedestrian directional signs.
I think that works to keep it on the pedestrians.
Okay. And then is Waterworks Park a destination that should be on vehicular directional signs? You know, initially we had it as just pedestrian only, but again, since there are few destinations in Tampa Heights in the official CRA, and that is, you know, a really nice park. We've
There's a lot of events there. Yeah, I think so.
okay. So going back to this page, we're currently showing 5 vehicular directional signs and 3 pedestrian directional signs. So 2 of them are on either side of Armature Works, so capturing traffic that is maybe as they're leaving Armature Works and wanting to see what else is around the neighborhood. You know, this one is on 7th Avenue, and then we also have one that's here at Waterworks Park near Eulalie. And there might be need to have one up in this park area, maybe for people that are coming from Franklin Street.
Yeah, it feels like they're kind of condensed into.
Is there also one on the Riverwalk?
With no, the Riverwalk signage is something different, and they have their own sign program, and they are that was initially part of, in the first phase, it was going to be part of our scope of work, but it's since been removed because they're working on doing an inventory and evaluation, and at some point that might get added back into this scope of work, but it's currently not part of it.
I'll just say that seems like a mistake. I feel like looking at those things in isolation is what leads to the disconnect that we see so much around the city. And this whole process is about finding ways to connect and help people know what things are where and how close they are in proximities. And without those 2 things being better coordinated, we really risk going back to people on the Riverwalk not actually knowing what's 2 blocks away from them.
Well, we've since brought Mary Beth Williams, president of the Friends of the Riverwalk, the CEO, into the conversation. It's a parks asset, so the city of Tampa Parks owns the Riverwalk. It's a parks asset, and we've brought Mary Beth from the Riverwalk, Friends of the Riverwalk, into our conversation, and Parks Department, a couple of representatives from the Parks Department, so that we all are speaking the same language, so that, you know, we don't go off this direction. And so we're sharing this information with Mary Beth, with Parks. So we're trying to keep a connection. It's just that the funding that was set aside for this program didn't include the Riverwalk signage, because the Parks Department would normally pay for that since it's their asset. But no, we haven't lost sight of that. We're trying to keep all the players speaking about what's happening here and what could be happening for signage on the Riverwalk.
Like even from like an assets perspective, like with the graphics and everything here, would that be shareable to them, like the art files and everything too? Okay.
Yeah, because
Yes.
we think it should all.
Yeah, should all match, you know, match, yeah.
So yeah, so we're our eyes are on that.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. So
Was your presentation done, John, or did you need additional feedback on anything?
if there's not any other feedback, then yeah, I think we're good.
I think the last question was just if there needed to be any other pedestrian signs outside of the 3 that they have kind of right there by Armature.
Yeah, I drove around there today. I had a meeting downtown, and when I was in this area, there's a lot of tree cover, so you couldn't even really see armature works. So I kind of felt like maybe somewhere around here in the park area warrants a pedestrian directional sign. Maybe if you think people might be walking from 7th Avenue, maybe something here. You can see my cursor. And part of it too will come down to budget and, you know, what the ballpark pricing comes in at.
I mean, I think it makes sense to have something at least like, I mean, that's like 2 blocks away from Armature Works versus like the other ones are right at or a block away. Like that way you're gonna pull someone in versus like they're already there and kind of seeing what's there.
Yeah, the thinking with the two here is that for people that are coming to Armature Works as a destination, making them aware of what else is around the area. So they probably have parked over here and haven't seen, you know, the rest of the neighborhood. So it's to make them aware, to promote the assets that are part of the neighborhood. They may not know that there's Waterworks Park just down the street.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, I think after my driving around today, and walking around, I think a couple more in this area might be good.
Do we have, I can't, I'm like looking to see. I know, it's so hard to see. Is Stetson?
It is small. Is what on there?
Stetson,
Stetson.
the law school, the Florida Bar Association, are those listed?
No.
Those are pretty significant pieces, I would say it should be in terms of the list of assets. And there's a lot of people who are going to those facilities that may not know what's right next to them either.
Okay. So adding them to the pedestrian signs.
Yeah, definitely.
Was that two, Stetson and?
And the Florida Bar Association.
Okay.
They're just south of, they're like
Right across almost.
right across, yeah, from
Waterworks.
Waterworks. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's, we certainly have room. We could add those.
Yeah, when you see the scale of those buildings, you'll see why.
Well, thank you for all that feedback.
Yes,
That was helpful, John.
certainly. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Nick.
All right, thanks, team. Talk to you soon.
Right,
Bye.
bye-bye. So Taryn, whether you knew it or not, you're chairing this meeting.
Ah,
So we kind of did an unofficial discussion and then you officially opened at 5:46 when you got here. I walked in the door. And the only action that we have to take still left is this, it was this, which they didn't need a motion, they just needed feedback, which we did. So there was no needed motion there, but the only other item for a motion with quorum is for approving the minutes and then adjournment. So that's really it, unless anyone had any new business they wanted to discuss, but then that gets everybody out on time for their whatever else they have planned tonight. Thank you.
you're good, you're good.
Okay, so
Plenty of.
we just need the motion for this.
So just, yeah, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Oh, my name isn't on there as being attended, one of the people that was there.
I'll approve it. I move to approve if, what was your name?
But I was there, so does that
We
matter?
need to.
Oh, to amend it.
To amend it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how is it?
Weird. I'll have to-
I feel like it's happened before, but I never said anything. I thought maybe we should put some now.
Not on there,
Yeah.
yeah, two letters you need.
All right.
I'll get better, and it's not you, I promise. That's me. I'm sorry, so it was Priya.
Let's see, so we have a motion to approve with
Got it.
the inclusion of Jan being in attendance. I have a second on that.
Oh, that's the, that was the same action item from the prior meeting. Oh, yeah, that's all.
I'm sorry, so.
Oh,
I would like to
yeah.
correct me.
Yeah. Yeah. I missed it.
Okay.
I missed it every meeting.
So what do you need now? A second?
I need a second on approval of the minutes with the inclusion of adding Jana as attending.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes pass.
I volunteered you, by the way.
She thought you had.
She said you would want to do it. That was her word. That was her word. You had to be a pro.
Right, and then I guess the only other item was to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes. Shannon, motions to adjourn and second.
I second that.
All right. Motion carries.
All right, well, that was a short, sweet
If
meeting.
I were president, I would get rid of him. Meaning of the United States, not like here. Well, let's get rid of him.
Well, thank you, guys. That wasn't important. We got to keep this project moving forward.
Yeah, that was great. That was actually very informative. Yes, I liked that.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you. And I'm sorry about the like. So it worked out though. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.